そうですね、今回出しているデモは、まず、今回一番フォーカスしたいホラーであること、その分を感じてもらうために、本編の一部じゃなくて、今回のためだけに作ったデモです。
So the demo, just to make it clear first and foremost, it's not actually a slice from the game. It isn't the opening sequence of the game or anything like that. We really want to focus on what concepts we want the players to understand about the game with the demo, and that's horror, obviously. So this is kind of like a tonal preview of what to expect in the game, rather than an actual little bit of the game content you're getting in advance.
で、バイオハザード、これまでたくさん20年の中でいろんなことをやってきたんだけど、やっぱりゲームプレイのコアにあるのは恐怖であり、探索と謎解きでリソースコントロール、あと戦闘と、もちろん今回のタイトルにはその全てが入っているんだけど、このデモではやっぱり探索とホラーの部分だけ、にフォーカスして作ってます。
You know, in the 20-year history of Resident Evil, of course, you all know the key pillars of the games are fear and horror. There's exploration of the environment. You've got puzzle-solving elements. You've got resource management. And of course you get combat against enemies. Those are all in this game, but we wanted to start off with the first two, which is horror and exploration, and really get you experiencing those two pillars up front. So just if you're thinking the other elements aren't in this demo, that's representative that the game doesn't have them. That's not the case at all. We're just simply focusing up front on the message about horrors come home with this demo.
Great.
そのコアなサバイバルホラーのゲームプレイをどうやったらその昔感じてたその初めてやった時の、印象を出せるかと突き詰めていった結果が今回のこのシステムになっています。
And that looking back at the history of the series and thinking, how do we get people playing today to experience the same fear the players felt in 1996 when they played the first game? Like, how can we bring that up to date and bring that emotion back? And that question and that answer is really what led us to making the gameplay system as you see in the demo.
And speaking of the gameplay, you know, one of the most noticeable differences in Resident Evil 7 is that the perspective is in first person. Can you talk about from a development perspective why that was an important decision for this game?
一人称カメラにしたきっかけは特に何ですか？
今回のそのコンセプトのそのホラーというところを突き詰めたときにですね、やはりその、サードパーソンよりもよりダイレクトにその恐怖を感じることができる、ホラーを体感できるのは、ファーストパーソンビューではないかというふうに、僕も中西はですね、判断しましたので、今回それを採用しています。
Both myself and the director, Mr. Nakanishi, felt, you know, if we want people to experience horror, and we wanted to experience it in a most direct, visceral way possible, then, you know, putting yourself literally in the position of being able to see what the character sees is just the best way to do that. And, you know, that was really our motivation for this first-person camera change.
And, oh, yeah, please.
で、実際にテストの段階で、やっていくと、思った以上にその、没入感のある恐怖体験ができたのと、あとやっぱりバイオハザードのゲームがこれで問題なく体験できるっていうところがあって、今回このチェンジにしました。
Of course, it's a big change, so we kind of got a prototype working and we put first person in place, and we wanted to see, you know, can we make Resident Evil work in first person? But as soon as we had it up and running, we were pretty confident that this was the way to go forward. You know, we were really happy with the way that Resident Evil feels in first person.
Absolutely. And the series has roots in first person in a strange way, and as a fan, this is something that I kind of nerded out about, which is the door loading sequences from the original Resident Evils, and the tension that came from going through a room and seeing the door open, and now opening doors in the beginning hour. It sort of reminds me of that, and I don't know, I love that.
最初のバイオハザードのドアシーケンスを思い出すんですよね。ファーストパーソンの部分で言うとそこがそもそも入っているので、ある意味ファーストパーソンは昔からバイオの DNA に入っているかもしれないですね。ファンの一人の一個人のファンとして大好きな要素です。
ありがとう。
And
Yep.
Additionally, I understand that this is developed in the RE engine, which is a new proprietary engine from Capcom, which has helped achieve the really stunning. It's interesting to call a game that looks so grimy and and sort of dilapidated, but it's beautiful in sort of its state of disarray. But this is achieved with the RE engine. Can you tell us a little bit about this new engine?
まあ、薄暗い汚いけどある意味美しいグラフィックなんですけど、今回カプコン独自が作った RE エンジンの開発のもとにあってるんですね。ちょっとエンジンの方の最強とかについて語ってもらっていいですか。
エンジンの最強、
はい、まあ RE エンジンにしたこととか。
ああ、オッケーオッケー。カプコンはもうアーティストもデザイナーもそういうこだわりが強い人が多くて、どうしても、よそのエンジンだとかゆいところに手が届かない。日本語で大丈夫それ大丈夫なので、もう自分のところの内製のエンジンにしてエンジンプログラムが近くにいる環境でここやっぱもっとこういう表現がしたいとかこういうツールが欲しいっていうのをでやっぱクオリティのためにエンジンが必要になる。
You know, our artists, our programmers, all the whole team, they're all just really fussy people, and they really want to be able to get exactly what they want out of a game development. So, you know, if you're using a third-party engine or one created by another company, it's like they feel like there's places they can't reach to scratch an itch because they didn't design the engine themselves, you know, and they want to know exactly how to find a way around the engine. And you know, we just decided the only way to make the game with the highest quality possible was, you know, make our own engine for it that's dedicated to bringing out this amazing experience. So it's really a sign of their dedication as artists that they wanted to not only make a new game but a brand new engine as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like it's like be like building your own house, right? Instead of, you know, renovating someone else's home. Like if you know what you want, build it from the ground up for yourself, right?
人んちを改造するよりは自分の家を建てるという意味なんですね。
Another thing that I know that people are very eager to know about this game is who are you playing in this game?
今回の主人公は誰ですか？みんな気になってると思うんですけど。
もう今回の主人公はもうあえてこう今までみたいにですね、困難に立ち向かっていける、もう最初からそのマッチョな主人公ではなくて、そのホラーをダイレクトに感じてもらうためにもですね、すごく無力な人間っていうのを、主人公に置いてますね。この配信版でもですね、もう、このカメラの視点にいるのはもうプレイヤー自身みたいな感じで設定してますけれども、そういう今までに登場してきたキャラクターではないっていうところがですね、今回また大きな変化の質につながっているんではないかなと思ってます。
Well, just to confirm, it isn't an existing character whose eyes you're seeing through. You know, I think one of the places we got to with the series until now is that you're kind of playing these superhero characters. You know, they're fully equipped, powerful people, and they go into these survival horror situations, but they're ready for them. You know what I mean?
Right.
They can take it on. To bring horror experience right to the player, we thought, well, now we're in first person, and you feel like you're there. You can't be looking through the first person perspective of a, you know, macho hero character, because that's not you at home. Well, maybe you are macho, I don't know. But so it's a kind of a powerless, ordinary person you're playing as. You know, we're not really talking too much in detail about who they are right now, but needless to say, they're just an ordinary person stuck in this extraordinary situation. I think that really brings the horror right to the fore. You know, you don't feel like maybe this person I'm playing as or me, maybe they can't cope with this situation. You know, and that
Right.
is a real feeling of helplessness that really helps the horror stand out. And if you try the demo that's out now on PSN for PS Plus, you'll be able to see that.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, to be able to instill horror, there has to be some sort of vulnerability. And over the series, you know, the original characters, Jill and Chris, and they just became more and more adapted to these situations. So, yeah, it makes sense that you'd need to play someone who's a little less capable in order to instill that fear. Another thing that I know people are really anxious to know about is this a reboot? Is it a proper sequel to take place in the same universe? These are some questions that fans have about Resident Evil 7.
まあ、多くのファンから質問も来るんですけども、これバイオハザードの世界の中の設定なんですか？でちゃん続編ですか？ナンバリングとして、それともリブート的な作品になるんですか？
そうですね、重要なことですけどリブートではないです。まあ過去いろんなことバイオハザードやってきましたけど、その全てを何一つ捨ててるわけではなくて、あくまでバイオハザードユニバースの延長上にあるゲームになってます。
Yeah, it's not a reboot, and you know, we're not throwing away the series canon storyline or anything like that. It's the new numbered title in the series. It's a sequel to the existing mainline series titles.
Okay.
もちろんこのデモではそうなのって思うかもしれないけどそこはねやっぱりサバイバルホラーには 謎が必要なので
After I say that and you try the demo, you might be like, really? Because it looks nothing like any of that.
Right.
But trust me, it's you need to have a bit of mystery in survival horror. So we're trying to make you feel when you play it like, how could this possibly be connected to any of that stuff? And
Right.
that's part of the appeal.
Yeah, it makes me want to know more, that's for sure. Speaking of trying to know more, can you tell us anything about who owns this property? Clearly the owners of this this house we're in are maybe a little, I don't know, unstable.
誰の家ですか？なんかこう見てると木の狂った人が持ってる家にしか見えないんですけど。
僕自身やっぱりホラー映画でもゲームやるときもやっぱり自分がここはどういう状態なのか、この先これ生き残れるのかっていうやっぱり不安になる気持ちが楽しいので、皆さんも知らない方がプレイするまで楽しめると思います。
I don't think you want to know that just yet.
Okay.
Like you said, there's mystery. There's a certain uncertainty you have to feel in horror. Like, I like playing horror games. I love watching horror movies, and when you watch them, you'll be feeling to yourself, "Oh my God! Like, what's happening here? Where are they? And are they ever going to get out of this alive?" I want that to be something you experience when you play this. So, I'm not about to spill the beans just yet.
Okay, all right, that's fair. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about is this year is the 20th anniversary of Resident Evil. And the announcement of Resident Evil 7 and revealing the future of the franchise is perfect timing. But if you two could talk a little bit about your personal feelings about the 20th anniversary and what it means to you as developers on the franchise.
まあちょうどタイミングよく20周年記念に合わせて発表できたタイトルなんですけど、バイオの20周年の個人的な思い出とか感情についてちょっと教えてください。
僕個人的な話なんですけども、この会社にカプコンに入ったのも、21年前ぐらいだったんで、ほぼなんか同年代といいますか、それぐらい長い、付き合いの部分もあるんですけれども、やっぱりね、ずっと同じわけではないっていうのは人間もこのタイトルも同じかなと思うんですが、そういうこう変化していく部分っていうのが今回本当に、この20周年っていうタイミングとこのバイオハザード7っていうタイトルのね、いいタイミングがこうはまった状態になっているんじゃないかなというところがすごく僕的には面白いなと思ってます。
Yeah, like you say, I really love how we've been able to bring Resident Evil 7 Biohazard and show you it all right in time for the 20th anniversary. It's I joined Capcom about 21 years ago, so it's kind of like one of my anniversaries as well. And
Right.
In 20 years, I feel like I've had a lot of personal growth and change, and that the series has as well. So it's been really great to kind of grow with Resident Evil over its history at Capcom and be able to bring a new chapter to everyone.
That's wonderful.
もうちょっといいですか？バイオハザードの1、2、3とね、あと4、5、6っていうところでこうなんか区切りが今までできてたんじゃないかなと思うんですけども、今回のこの7でまた大きな一つの区切りができたかなと思ってますんで、これぜひね、あとここから、バイオハザードっていうブランド広げていけたらいいかなと思ってます。
Yeah, so everyone who knows the series history will know we've kind of got a couple of milestone markers where we had the Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 as a kind of a sequence of the original gameplay style. Then from 4 to 6, there was a big shift in direction with the series into third person, kind of over the shoulder. So now with Resident Evil 7, it's another marker in the series where we've had a complete, they call it in Japanese, a full model change,
Okay.
complete redesigning from the ground up of the game. And, I'm just looking forward to seeing where the series is going to go from here now that we've come into our kind of third era.
Yeah. Absolutely. Same for me.
そうですね、20年続いているフランチャイズってなかなかないと思うんですよね。そんなに長く続いているのにまだいろいろと挑戦的なことをしてるっていう、こういうフランチャイズいてほしいなと僕ユーザーとしてもやっぱ思うので、そういう思いで作ってます。
Yeah, Nakanishi-san says as well, I don't really, there are not that many series that have been around this long and are still going strong, 20 years is a long time to be making games like this and challenging yourself to find new ways to make the games and bring new experiences to players. But as a gamer myself as well, I think it's really great to have such a long-running franchise exist, and I love this kind of series that exists in the game industry, and it's really part of the DNA of the industry as well.
Yeah. I'm right there with you as a lifelong fan. To be as excited now about Resident Evil 7 as I was when I first saw the franchise back in 1996 is just an incredible feeling. But speaking of things that came out 2 decades ago or were in existence, Resident Evil franchise has lasted a little bit better than VHS technology, but nevertheless still exists inside this game. But can you tell us a little bit about what we've seen of the VHS tapes and found footage in how it will play in with Resident Evil 7?
20年前のことといえばビデオテープが入ってるんですよね。でビデオテープは現代にあまり使われてないテクノロジーなんですけど、デモをプレイしてる人も気づいてると思うんですけど、どういう要素になってくるんですか、ビデオテープというギミックは。
今回このビデオテープもそうですし、テレビもこのブラウン管ですし、あとカセットテープっていうのも出てくるんですけれども、あえて80年代のギミック的なものを使ったりとかしてるんですね。理由としてそのアナログ感といいますか、ホラーっていうのを表現するときにそういうものっていうのがすごく映えるんじゃないかな。最近のそのデジタル感とはまたちょっと対極のね、そういう表現をするための手法として今回あえてそういう、アイテムを使ってます。
Things have gotten so digital in the modern era that we really just wanted to kind of bring an analog feel, kind of grungy feel to this horror. So if you've played the demo, you'll already have seen this kind of VHS type found footage motif going on. There's other things, and you play them on a kind of a cathode ray tube TV, an old-fashioned big deep TV. There's also going to be like audio cassettes appearing in the game as well. So that kind of thing it just has a certain atmosphere. It's almost like it makes it feel like it could be set in any time. It could be the 80s, could be now. So it's kind of an analog feeling we want to bring out.
Right. This house definitely feels like it's been lost to time a little bit, and I feel like that kind of helps stamp that. Another element that was announced yesterday at the press conference was that this is going to have full support of the PlayStation 4's PlayStation VR mode. And that's in fact one of the demos that we're showing at our Capcom booth here at E3. Can you talk about the role that VR plays in Resident Evil 7?
昨日の発表でも VR 版が存在するということだったんですけど、EC でも出展中の PSVR 版があるんですけど、どういういきさつがあって PSVR の要素を入れ込んだんですか？
要素
PSVR なんで
どういうフィーチャーを入れた
VR とホラーはすごくマッチングする。
ものすごいマッチングしますね。
しますね。
はい。
I think VR is a really good match for horror first and foremost. Or nothing else.
もう本当にそれに尽きる。
はい、
実際テストしてもうチームもねとてもエキサイティングで。
Yeah, well, when we first got it implemented, we were all so excited to try it out. Putting on the headset and getting into the horror experience.
多分もう実際に体感してもらったらすぐ分かると思うんですよ。
You have to kind of experience it for yourself to understand just how immersive and how much, I don't know, you feel like you're right there in the room, So.
Yeah, absolutely. I've noticed that in having played the demo myself, that the sense of presence, especially in this section when you're in the VHS found footage segment and it's darker. When I was separated from the other characters, I personally felt very alone and isolated, and that's just not something I feel like I could feel without as potently without VR.
ビデオテープの部分でも他のキャラクターと別れるときにすごい孤独感が湧いてきたんですよね。普通に画面越しでやってるときにあまり感じないことだったんで、自分もすごい特別な体験じゃないかなと。
そうですね。
そうですね。この画面の虫もね、うざいもんね。
Yeah, you see these bugs here. It's one thing to have them on your TV screen when you're playing, but when you're in VR, you're going to be batting them out of the air in front of you. It's kind of like, get out of my face, bugs.
Yeah. Another thing that was announced or revealed at Sony's press conference was that this has links to the previously revealed kitchen VR demo. Can you talk a little bit about the connections there, both in the game and then also in the development of Resident Evil 7?
プレスカンファレンスでもキッチンのつながりが発表されてるんですけど、言葉としてどういう関係してるんですか、キッチンのテクデモと今回のバイオハザード7。
もともとは、同じ、 開発環境で制作してたわけで、本当に先ほどのその VR のその研究、をするときに、仮にそのキッチンっていうタイトルのものを、制作したっていうのは本当その通りなんですけれども、もともとその題材としてですね、バイオハザード7っていうのもその段階でかなり制作自体は進めてましたんで。
Yeah, Kitchen was sort of developed in parallel. You know, it was a proof of concept VR tech demo. You might know it was put out at E3 last year on our booth as well. It was created at a time when Resident Evil 7, the main game itself, was coming along quite nicely, actually.
Right.
So they were kind of developed in parallel within the same development environment, and yeah, that's kind of the relationship between them. It's not a one-to-one relationship.
Okay. And I understand that the game is playable both with VR and not VR. Both versions have the same game, correct?
7ですけど、VR で遊んでも通常版で遊んでも同じ内容ということでいいんですよ。
基本的には同じ内容です。もちろんVR は、VR に最適化した調整はしますけど。
Yeah, the content is the same. Of course, for VR, we need to kind of optimize the experience to make it comfortable in VR and make it as immersive as possible. But the actual game itself is exactly the same. It's just whether you play in VR mode or whether you play regular mode.
Okay. And you know, one thing that when I personally found out as a longtime Resident Evil fan and someone who's very curious about VR and excited about it and has been scared by VR games a lot, I was excited about the idea of my favorite horror franchise merging with this exciting new immersive technology. But is there any concern when you're developing the game that, oh my God, what if this is too scary? Like, is that a concern at all, or is the goal just like, no, if you're signing up for VR, we are pulling no punches?
VR の体験ですけど、怖すぎるっていう懸念をしません？没入感があまりにもあるから、これは行き過ぎなんじゃないかな、やばいんじゃないって思ったこととかあるんですか？
思ったことありますね。
VR で遊ぶ以上、VR で遊びたい人がいるんだったら、じゃあ自己責任でやってください。
そういうことがありますね。
Yeah, it's pretty much you take responsibility if you're the one who wants to play VR and you're ready. Whether you think you're ready for it or not is up to you to decide. But we certainly did have feelings at some point where it was like, you know, maybe you can push it too far in VR with the horror.
Okay. You know, and another thing that I'm curious about is there's clearly a threat in Resident Evil 7. You feel very on edge, especially in the VR version, but in this beginning hour demo, people that have played it, there's clearly a singular threat in this house, but then also you hear other things. And is there any hint that you can give us about what might be the threat for players in Resident Evil 7?
敵の存在を感じるデモになってるんですよね。どういうものかわからないけど、とりあえずこの家はやばいという感覚がするんですけど、なんかヒントをもらえませんか？その向こう側の敵キャラというか、プレイヤーと対抗している存在について。
それが何かと。先ほど言いましたけど、多分知らない方が楽しいんですけど、知って言うならヒントはこの中に散りばめてあります。
デモの方にですね。
はい。
Yeah, you know, I keep saying the same thing, but I really don't want to just say this is what's happening in the game up front on kind of ruin it in advance for everyone.
Right.
So, but I will say that if you try out the demo, I think there's plenty of hints inside there as well of what exactly is going on in this house and what this threat that you mentioned, what kind of threat that might be.
Absolutely.
So try it for yourself.
Definitely. And people can do that now. The PlayStation Plus subscribers can play it on PS4 right now, obviously. And yeah, that's the tricky thing, obviously, is balancing horror is about the unknown, but fans are so hungry for more information that these things can be a little at odds sometimes. But obviously, everyone's just really excited about it.
知らない方が怖いのと、もっと興味があるから知りたいという駆け引きは難しいと思うんですけどね。
Yeah. And can you talk a little bit? Obviously, this demo is set in a very old, mysterious house. Here at Capcom's booth in E3, the entire Resident Evil 7 demo area is a gigantic, derelict mansion. Can you talk about the decision to return to a singular, residence like this?
今回のブースもマンションの仕立てになってるんですけど、最近のゲームと違って一つの場所に絞って設定にするっていうのはどういういきさつとかって決定したんですか？この方向性は。いろんな場所で開催するストーリーではなく一つのところ。
まあバイオハザード6はすごくこう広がりがあるといいますか、スケールのでかいお話になってたと思うんですけれども、もう今回はあえてですね、やっぱり、対象もその個人、プレイヤーもその個人にこう対象を抑えて、もうそこからこう徐々にこう広がっていくみたいな感じの多分体感をしてもらった方がですね、よりそのホラー体感として、そのホラーの怖さっていうのを感じてもらいやすいんじゃないかなと思ってますんで、もう本当にこう身の回りからこうどう広がっていくのかっていうところを楽しんでもらいたいなと思ってます。
You know, yeah, like Resident Evil 6 and recent entries in the series have had this kind of massive global scale to the horror and the threat. We just sort of felt, you know, if we bring it down to a bit more of an intimate, personal scale of horror, that will just make it all the easier for players to experience the fear that we want them to experience. So, you know, I'm hoping you'll enjoy this bringing back to basics feeling we have, where it's just one person in one location and, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of fear.
今回はもうあえてそのスケールを広げていくよりも、もう本当に、範囲は狭いかもしれないんですけど、その分すごくディティールを凝ったって言いますか、建物にしてもやっぱりそういうディティールの細かさっていうのは昔からカプコン得意なんですけれども、それを今回極めるぞぐらいの勢いでやってますんで。
That also lets us focus a lot on, by not having this huge broad scale of environments, we can really focus on the details, you know, because it's this one place where you are. So I think Capcom's got some expertise in our DNA over the years of bringing one environment to life,
Yeah.
like in the original Resident Evil. So, you know, by focusing on that, I think we're able to bring our expertise to bear on this really great singular experience.
Right.
ただゲーム自体はね、本編自体はもっとこの、いろんな展開がありますんで、もうあんまりこう言えないんですけれども、あんまりここだけにあんまりこだわってほしくないかな、この館だけっていうふうに思わなくてもいいんじゃないかなと思いますけれども。
That's not to say that this kind of this house you can see in the beginning of our teaser, for example, it's not the entire game isn't set in a series of corridors in and around this, you know, this opening area. Again, I can't go into too much detail,
Right.
but there's a little more to it than that.
Okay.
Let's just say, you know, it isn't just a single little house.
Okay.
Maybe there might be a little bit more breadth to the setting.
Okay, great. Yeah, there's definitely something exciting about that. As someone who grew up loving, you know, Resident Evil 1 and 2 and these games that did have more of a focus on a central location but did have, you know, branching paths and different areas to explore, there's something satisfying about, you know, if you handed a sheet of paper to a Resident Evil fan, they could probably sketch out, you know, the map to the Spencer Mansion or something, and just getting to know and become intimately familiar with an area like that is really satisfying. I think fans should be excited for that. Yeah.
ファンの人もね、一つの場所にいると、もう自分が地図で書けるぐらいの勢いで一つの場所を覚えられるのもすごくプレイヤーとしては気持ちいいと思いますので。
And you know, we're getting close to the end of our time here with you two. But Kawada-san, Nakanishi-san, any words to the fans that are watching right now before we wrap up? Just, you know, what to be excited for, or a special message about the 20th anniversary? Anything you want to say?
最後に一人ずつちょっとファンへのメッセージがあれば、まあ、セブンのことでもデモのことでも、まあ、20周年でも大きく見ても、
そうですね、まあ、メッセージの前に一つさっき敵のことをねあんまり言わないのもちょっと意地悪かなと思ったんで一個だけ言うと、これテイストとしてはねちょっとスーパーナチュラルとかオカルトあるようなイメージがね持つ人もいると思うんですけど、まあ、そこも今回も今までのバイオハザードの延長なんでそういうのはやってないです。
I kind of want to give a reassuring message at the end of the conversation today that I think I've seen from initial reactions of what we've put out that people are getting an impression that maybe we've taken Resident Evil and turned it into some sort of supernatural occult ghost story.
Okay.
I think I can see where you know there's elements of that are kind of maybe you can look at the trailer or the demo and get that impression, but just don't worry, we haven't just thrown out Resident Evil as it exists and turned it into, you know, a ghost story, so just don't worry, it'll all make sense in the end. So.
Okay, that's great to know.
で、まあ、メッセージってことなんですけど、まあ、今回まだ、トレーラーとこのティーザーのデモしか出せてなくて本当はもっと出したいんだけど、最終的には皆さん満足してもらえるバイオハザードの経験ができるものに するつもりなんで楽しみにしててください。
And yeah, I know it's frustrating that we keep holding back on what we can show you, but you know, we just really believe this is the best way to let you enjoy the game to the fullest when it finally comes out. So we just have a trailer and a demo at the minute, but you know, watch this space in the coming months and just hope you look forward to the game. And we're going to do our best to bring the best game we can to you.
Okay, wonderful.
はい、
まあやっとね、こうやって発表できて、僕もこうほっとしてるんですけれども、我々のボスにね、竹内淳っていうのがいてですね、今回彼のやっぱりこの企画立案というすごくこう大きかったんですよ。で、今後、我々第一開発部っていうカプコンの中の、部隊に所属してるんですけれども、まあ、そこから、このバイオハザードシリーズもですね、いろんな展開できればいいかなと思ってます。
Yeah, you know, I've just been talking at Capcom R&D Group 1 back in Japan with my boss, Mr. Takeuchi. The fans might know who that is, you know, and we really want to be able to bring everything we can and all kinds of experiences to Resident Evil series going forward. So, you know, I hope you look forward to and enjoy what we've got in store for you for Resident Evil in the future.
Absolutely. I think
もう一個だけメッセージとして今回のセブンの特徴をもう一つ言いたいことがあるんですけど、今回は、QT を一切使ってないです。
Also, I just want to say one last message that there are no quick time events in Resident Evil.
Okay.
So I know a lot of people might relieved to hear that.
Okay, great. I think there's a lot of people that hold you to that. That's good. That's good news.
絶対だね。
Well, I think I speak on behalf of a lot of Resident Evil fans, for all of them, that we're incredibly excited for Resident Evil 7. And you know, thank you so much for taking time, Kwada-san, Nakanishi-san, and Pat, to talk with us about the game. And stay tuned. And you know, for those watching, so Resident Evil 7 is going to be out on January 24th, 2017 for PS4 with PlayStation VR mode, and also on Xbox One and PC. And you can download the Resident Evil 7 teaser beginning hour on PSN right now if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber. So check that out. And then stay tuned. Yuri's going to be back, and we're going to show off some Monster Hunter Generations coming up next. So thanks everyone for watching, and thanks again for stopping by.
Bye.
Bye bye.